I'm Cadet Mejia, here joined by Major Seal.
How you doing?
So today we're going to be doing our crucial conversations again, started in the beginning of the semester with the Colonel Hoffman himself. So just before we kind of jump into everything, I'm going to give Major Seal a chance here to just talk about a bit of his background, personal experiences before we hop into the questions that we have lined up for today. And as always, as we're going through this conversation, if you have any questions you specifically want to see and hear about from his background, drop those in the chat, and then Major Seal can see some of those questions as we go up, and then I can always talk about them as we go on. So feel free to participate. That's what this is all about. So Major Seal.
All right, well, welcome. Thank you for asking me to come in today. I appreciate it. I've been seeing some of these, obviously watching, I'm a big fan of them, so I'm glad to be a part of it. So appreciate that, and ready to go.
All right, so I guess we can jump into a bit of your background, your last AFSC before you came to the detachment, and then we'll kind of jump into your cadet life when you were actually here at the detachment. So why don't you give us some of that information beforehand?
Sure. So prior to getting a chance to come here to ROTC, I was at the assignment center at AFPC, working 13N assignments for my career field. So I was still a 13N as far as my AFSC goes, but I was working under AETC, kind of like we are here, just not under the umbrella of 13N. However, I was still working and doing assignments for primarily 13N career field. So yeah, but prior to that, I was at Minot Air Force Base doing a 97 Echo, which is an exec position. So
okay.
I was getting a chance to do that. So I'll probably dig into that a little bit more here.
So then how was that transition to come here to the DET?
From AFPC or from the wing?
Yeah, from the wing to come over to the detachment.
From the wing, it was a nice change of pace. I'll say that it was the DET. I'm sorry, the wing is just go go go. It's a very high ops tempo. I'm not saying that we don't have an ops tempo here, but there's definitely a slowdown as far as an ops tempo goes. from day-to-day life.
Oh.
So it was refreshing to get to come back and also get away from the 13 world that I'd been in for the last 10 years. So it's a good stop and break, kind of that halfway point where it's nice to kind of relax and get back to my roots here at DET for 2.
Nice. So then, yeah, I guess talking about getting to your roots about DET for 2, let's delve into some of that background about your cadet life here. So we'll jump into the first one. What was your favorite part about being a cadet here at DET for 2 during your training?
So I'll say I grew up in Universal City, just outside of Randolph Air Force Base. So I was always looking and fascinated by the jets, and at the time they do some air shows and they used to fly right by our house, so it was something that I was interested in. I never thought about joining the Air Force, honestly, because just my family has been, we had a family business, and the family was just never really in the military that much. But when I got here, my brother-in-law actually was in the program. So he was like, hey, come check this out. So I did, fell in love with it. I got involved, and it's all history from here. So my favorite part about being that was just, I guess, realizing that my childhood, dream of kind of aircraft and planes and being part of the military was realized by getting a chance to commission at 842.
Nice. So then, going through more of that cadet life, what would you say the most challenging part about your time there as compared to, some of the differences that you have here? Did you see from our cadet life?
I guess it was just something that I was completely unexpected for, since like I said, it just fell in my lap, really. So challenging was I worked pretty much full time when I was at the DET. I was engaged at the time, and towards the end of my time, my wife and I actually found out that we were having a kid, and I had a kid, my first child, the month I commissioned. So dealing with that kind of stuff, kind of balancing it and still trying to be successful in what positions I had as a POC, trying to fulfill my time as just being a good cadet and doing those jobs was challenging to balance all of that. So kind of at an early age, I had to I guess grow up, if you will, and kind of handle all that. So that was, I would say, the challenging part was balancing work life and married life with one on the way.
So yeah, that sounds like it was a big kind of jump between those different responsibilities. How are you able to manage that, having those real world factors come into play while you're dealing with this training at the same time? What made you prioritize what and what as you were going through that?
It was a learning experience. I messed up a couple things and learned from that. I definitely had to take a look at what was the most important thing to me. The most important thing at the time was always my family, right? So I had to take care of them first. But being able to take care of them was ensuring that I still did everything I had to do that got, like, my work and ROTC. So those two, if I didn't manage those two things too, I couldn't take care of the family, right? So it was a hard-fought battle of prioritization. And eventually you just overcome it and learn from it. And I used the help of a lot of my cadet mates and stuff and friends within the DET to help me out with some of the positions that I might not have known how to do here. We had a really good cadre at the time while we were there that I leaned on and asked a lot of questions for. So really it was not just, I had to ask everybody else for help. I relied on my wife, relied on my flight mates, I relied on the cadre. But I learned that the hard way too, right? Don't try to do everything don't put it all on me. I needed to reach out and help out. So that was probably hard. One of my biggest learning moments was asking other people for help.
Yeah, I think a lot of us kind of struggle with that, especially the first time we jump into this program. People try and lone wolf because they have that image of what a cadet should be. You're like, no, I can do this. But I guess for you, especially in the circumstances you were in, you really had to figure out how to kind of break that idea and move forward with the team. As I guess, especially with the helpful cadre. And I know you had Mr. Yano in both aspects of him before he was Mr. Yano and then when he was the Master Sergeant at the time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. How would you...
The legend is still here.
Yeah. He still here over... how many years has Mr. Yano been?
It's a long time. I don't know.
We have a statue somewhere we'll make of him. How would you... I guess I kind of bleeds into that question about your experience kind of being different from that normal cadet life was because of the fact that you're balancing all that workload and work life. What would you say are some of the biggest differences you see from, I guess, our training now and compared to the training that you went through when you were here as a cadet?
I'll say there's not, as far as I guess academic-wise goes and classes go, I don't see too much of a difference as far as how we handle things and our learning objectives and kind of the way we set up our AS courses. We still follow the same kind of format. I would just say that I guess the field training is the biggest aspect that changes seems to change every year. So adapting to that with field training prep. When I was going through, it was a 5-week course. When we went out there, this what, like 12 to 14 days now. So adjusting how we train and get the cadets handled and ready for that is, I guess, the biggest difference, I would say.
Mhm.
But for the most part, it's been pretty steady as far as how we do things, whether that be from the region or how we just as a DET handle stuff.
Mhm.
Not much has changed fundamentally, just kind of adapting as technology advances and field training is adapts, I guess. So like we're at Shelby this year
Mhm.
instead of Maxwell. So again, changes, we're just adapting to that.
So then from there, I can kind of stem two different questions about how would you say technology advancing has helped either hinder or advance the training that we have here at the detachment?
Well, I guess, with the Zoom environment that we've had, it's some people see it as a hindrance, some people see it as a benefit, right? So I think, and there's both. I agree with both of that. I think we're able to have more communication all the time with Zoom, where maybe we had to rely on our class period or block
Mhm.
that we had if we're in person all the time. So that constant access can be seen as a benefit to kind of teaching, to where no matter where you are, we can still get you that lesson. But at the same time, you lose that one-on-one interaction, that face-to-face kind of camaraderie that I miss, and that it was always kind of drilled into us as far as we were going through the program. So technology has made it easier for constant access, but I think it limits that one-to-one person interaction. So.
No, definitely. I think we see that a lot now. That's one of the struggles that we all face here, especially the POC and GMC, just kind of that interaction. How do we find that balance? I know a lot of people really enjoyed Icarus that we had the other day, and that was a big morale booster, just being able to see everyone in face. So I definitely see those pros and cons of it. And then kind of going off of another thing you had mentioned, you said your field training was 5 weeks long as compared to our 14-day field training now. What would you say, how would you say that length really gives a difference in our training? Like you had mentioned, right, we've talked previously about it, how you had like 2 weeks or a week in garrison, and then you had that week of execution, and then the 2 other weeks where you were sent off of Maxwell to another base right at Camp Shelby. How would you say that impacted your training as compared to now the shortened length and time that we have with the field training cadets go through nowadays?
I think the biggest difference is kind of going back to that technology piece was back in 2007, 2008 when we were going through that program, there wasn't as much, I guess, training available. So now here at the DETs, we can kind of handle that and train our cadets in person instead of having to have you be out there for so long. Back when I was going through, they didn't necessarily have some of those programs set up, so we were there longer to make sure we covered everything. So technology, I think, has played a big role as far as shrinking down, and just overall we become more efficient. As we do things more often, we become more efficient at it. So we've eliminated maybe what we don't need. So we don't need you to be that long. We've brought that back to the DETs, or we've become more efficient in how we train here in our curriculum, so we don't have to add so much at Maxwell or Shelby. So I think, again, practice is honing it down. Technology is honing down the time. But not to say that my training was any better or your training was any better. It's just different as far as how we're reacting now versus what we had then and what we have now. It's
more like as everything is advanced, you're able to consolidate a lot more of that training and time into what the detachments are able to produce at that area.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So then kind of jumping out from your time as a cadet and your time there at the detachment to some of your time in active duty, how would you describe the first time that you're moving to your first duty station? Like, how was that transition for you, from cadet to lieutenant to now, all right, here's my job, I got to do my thing?
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. I commissioned in May of 2010, and I didn't go active duty until October. So that 4.5 month, 5 month gap was kind of weird. I just was sitting here. I had to go find a job, so I went and got another job. I was expecting to just go, but I went and got a job and just kind of hung out. I know some of us have quicker EAD dates than others. So first off, that's what I had to experience was, hey, you're second lieutenant, go find a job. So that was odd, but we got through it. When October came, we went out to Vandenberg Air Force Base. That was my training base. So I got out to Vandenberg, and I didn't know what to really think. I didn't know what to prepare for. I was just nervous about getting there, but I was actually excited at the same time. But in typical like me fashion, I worried a little bit too much and should have just relied on the process. When I got there, everything was good. Got in process and taken care of, so it was good. And there's a lot of people all there feeling the same way I was, right? So we all got together and it was good. So I was nervous about leaving, but when I got there, it all worked out.
All right, so then what advice would you give to the guests that kind of have that gap in between their service time and then when they commission, they're trying to find that balance in that gray area?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say if you can, reach out to your gaining unit and have, hopefully there's a sponsor that's already done that for you, but if not, you'll have that. Reach out to them and just say, hey, what can I look for? What can I do? In the meantime, maybe there's something that you can start reading or preparing for to set you up so you might not have so much when you get there. But other than that, I mean, if that's not the case, they just say, hey, wait till you get here. Just enjoy life. Go get a job and enjoy some free time because it's only going to get busier from there. So I would say just enjoy some time with your friends, your flight mates, the cadets before they all take off, and just play it by ear. Just don't worry about waiting. It's not in the grand scheme of things, it's a very short amount of time. It seems like a long time when you're there, but the grand scheme of things, it's not.
So you kind of view it as like a grace period where you have that kind of cushion to do what you feel like you need to do before you transition into there, as compared to maybe some cadets that just chop. All right, you're in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some people just go and some people have to wait, but that's just the cards were dealt, right?
So then, kind of going on in that, what are some of the things you would say the military doesn't tell you about that move to your first duty station?
I guess, and this is case by case. Like I said, I kind of had a little bit different go of it. Since I had kind of had that work-life balance already, but I guess they don't really prepare you as much as to say, hey, when you get here, here's how to be an adult living on your own, away from home and friends, and preparing to get your job and learning your job. So I think we kind of just think about what do I need to go do to start my training and learn about my job, but we don't really think about or prepare our cadets maybe as good as we can for that home life that you're there by yourself and away from home. Sometimes it's the first time for some of our cadets, and that it's the first time I moved away from Texas. So I think luckily I had some friends I knew from the detachment. I actually had one of my commissionees, one of my flight mates, went with me. So I had them, I had that little safety net of friends and had my wife. But I think it's really just, we don't prepare you on how to be an adult alone on your own. So just find somebody that find a friend that is in your training unit, go reach out to your mentor and just ask them and figure out what to do. But I think that the military handles what you need to do to get your job, but they don't handle how to be an adult sometimes for some of us who haven't lived on our own.
So then would you say that's more of just the responsibility on the individual cadet to kind of seek out those skills, or do you think maybe that's something that we need to tackle as cadets start to transition to that adulthood, full adulthood when they commission?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's too individualistic, if that's a word, to be able to handle everyone. So I think it is part of that, just putting on your big boy and big girl pants and getting out there and being an adult. I think it's just trial by fire and trying to see about really just growing up. It's just part of that. I don't think the military can teach that to you. I think they can they say, hey, here's some useful hints, but that's just something you gotta learn. and that's something that maybe that's just Brandon Steele's perspective, so I'm not sure, but that's the way I take it.
All right. I mean, yeah, it seems like you had all that trial by fire going through it yourself, so I can see how that kind of makes sense in your head. So then jumping in from when you were able to get to your first duty station, how would you say the training was to be the missileer? Was it challenging? How did you have to go through? What was that route for you like? And what did you overcome going through that training?
Yeah, so I had no idea what to expect. I heard it was challenging, but I had no idea what to expect. I would say that if I had studied and tried as hard as I did during missile training as I did here at the detachment, my GPA would have been much better here at the UTSA. It was definitely something I had to really re-hone and mold, I guess, how I study for things. It was more, this is going to kind of sound bad, my classes here seemed kind of down here, and this is my military training seemed up here, so I guess I boosted it up and I had to overcome that. It was very difficult. I had to, not to say that the lessons were that hard, it was just a change in my way of studying. But I got through it again with my help of classmates and friends. We all studied together. We all went over to each other's homes and helped each other out on the evening. So definitely something I had to study much harder than I did here.
So definitely, again, that kind of honing in on the teamwork aspect where you guys are relying on each other to get through that. Definitely. So I imagine you forged a lot of those friendships. All of you guys are trying to get through that training and push through.
Oh yeah, I still keep in touch with almost all of them. So.
What would you say some of the most challenging parts, again, not now from the training, but just from that career, in itself as you're going through that missileer?
It's a unique career field in the fact that you deploy every time you go out to a missile site. So you're there for 24 hours away from family and friends. You trip out as a crew and you stay out there for 24 hours. So getting used to that environment to where you're going out to a site that's a couple hours away. to go do your job is kind of odd and something that you have to get used to. I think that was challenging for both my family. Again, like I said, we had a newborn at the time, so she had to, carry all the weight and take care of the kid while I went and did that. So that work-life balance was tough. Getting to just understand the career field. It's a very intricate weapon system too. So there's a lot of weight on your shoulders as far as saying you're signing for nuclear weapons. That's a big deal, right? So when you put your name on the paper, that I guess you'll say pucker factor, if you will, is there, and you're like just something that they try to prepare you for, but when you sign your name for the first time, it's just a huge responsibility. So that was challenging just to overcome that.
Kind of have that weight on your shoulders as you're going through that career, yeah. So for those that don't necessarily know the career field of the missileer, can you kind of give down a run through of what exactly the career entails and your responsibilities as you would go through that?
Sure. Yeah, so we're in charge of intercontinental ballistic missiles. So we are the people on everybody thinks about missileers, they probably think about a red switch or a red button, right? That we all push the button and everything at a moment's notice will go. So we are in fact the ones that monitor, maintain, or help maintain and keep on alert all of those missiles at a time. So we work with maintenance directly and security forces directly to both keep our missiles safe and to fix the missiles. So we're monitoring them day to day. So that is something that they train you for to teach you, but it's just something that's just kind of surreal when you get there. And you're like, I signed my name on 10 missiles, and sometimes up to 20 missiles at a time. So that's a huge, that's something it's a huge weight and responsibility. But we take that seriously, and we take that with pride that we get to do that. So that's really cool and unique about the career field. There's not much else that you could put on a resume saying that. I've had and maintained custody of nuclear missiles. It kind of puts that responsibility, or kind of kicks off anything that might, you think that's like a big deal now. It's like, hey, I used to do this, I can handle anything. And if I can handle this and I did it, I can pretty much handle anything. So we kind of fall back on that.
You're like basically saying, hey, if World War III happened, I was there with the nukes and all that stuff going down.
Yeah, and it's definitely different. So that was, it was a very good experience. I'm glad I got to be a part of it.
So the weight of all that kind of and the responsibility really just kind of shows the prowess of. I imagine now that you talk more about that training must have been really hard to kind of keep you guys on lock on what you guys were trying to do and just keep that mindset. How would you say you're personally meshed with the career field and the personalities of those around you? Would you say that there's a type of personality that was more attracted to the missileer field, or were you able to find like you're kind of more diverse? A lot of airmen, it didn't really matter.
Yeah, I think it was probably more the latter. I think we were a very diverse group, just such as any career field, but I think that's what made us work together the best. We all had different ideas, we all had different ways of thinking, and part of progressing through the missile career field is like you can go to an instructor shop or you can go to an evaluator shop. And when you go do that, you're instructing the new 13Ns that come in, or you're evaluating the 13Ns that come in. So that when we're instructing, having different thoughts and different thought processes and being from different ethnicities and cultures helps us just make the best training environment we can for our missileers. So diversity was something that we embraced. Towards the end, I think the 13N career field had a big change halfway through, but we're embracing that now, and it's just only been better for us. So.
All right. So what would you say was rewarding about that first experience there at your duty station when you were trying to, after you say you kind of got normalized to it, right? You're getting into your daily routine, and what would you start feeling was the rewarding factor of that career as you started to become normalized within it?
I guess just the fact that I could say I was one of the people that provided that kind of that silent deterrence, that umbrella of protection we say, in the community, as far as always on watch and always keeping people safe through that deterrence of nuclear missiles. That was something that we took pride of, and that was rewarding to think about. So we would bring people, senators, or DVs, or colonels, even our family down to the Launch Control Center, and they'd be like, oh wow, I had no idea what this was, right? So when the public would see kind of the weight and responsibility that we held, it was kind of gratifying, right? So that made us feel proud of what we did. It kind of reinstilled that confidence and made us proud to be part of that nuclear deterrent that we provided. So.
Were you able to have any cool special guests coming down, people that you specifically remember now that you kind of bring that up?
We had some of a couple senators come down. We had the chief of staff came down a couple times. we had Secretary of State, we had a lot of high-level government officials come down and check out some things, and we gave them some really cool tours. But getting to take my family down is actually one of the coolest things, because you just can't explain what a launch control center is to somebody until you take them down to see it. So it was pretty cool that my family got to see it.
So you bring people down and they're all freaking out, and you're like, oh, I do this on a daily basis.
Yeah. It's more like, wow, you do all that with what's down here kind of deal. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
So then going there, seeing as how hyped up, CO usually is in people's base preferences sheets, why would you say it lives up to the hype in your opinion?
The career field or the location?
The location.
It's like, I guess I think like right there it says Colorado. There's so much to do there, right? So if you're an outdoor person at all, you're gonna love Colorado. So right away, that's a good selling point. Any of the other two missile bases, Minot and Montana, are both out in like the wilderness, most pristine area that you can think about, right? It is a big culture shock for a lot of people with the snow. But if you ski or snowboard or like to go that stuff, it's like the perfect place for you to go out there. I guess a lot of people think about putting Cheyenne and Wyoming first. That's right there at the border of Colorado and Wyoming. Just because you have all that you have more of the college town down there. They got the mountains, you got skiing, like I said. So it's just Colorado's a pretty cool place to go. It's one of the closest places that you can be as a missileer to some of that other stuff. The other two places are more rural, but it's just if you're a nature lover, it's the perfect job for you.
So then how would you say that culture shock was for you when you were able to go there from Texas all the way back?
Yeah, it was different. The first time, hitting those crazy snowstorms and some of those temperatures was definitely a shock. Maybe I should have added that to what the military doesn't prepare you for is weather. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. We had some really big snowstorms. We had to shovel out of a lot of stuff, but it's just part of the fun, right? You go out there, you can either make it a terrible time and just saying, oh, this weather's terrible, or you can go and have fun, build a snowman, go sledding, go skiing. My kids loved being out there in the snow. So it's what you make of it. We embraced the snow. We liked it. It was challenging at times, but it was fun. We had a lot more fun than bad. A lot more good days than bad days.
So a lot of that was, attitude and getting to do it down with your peers, finding ways to do it. I imagine lots of hot chocolate, right? Somewhere around there.
Warm drinks, yep.
So going on, what would you say are some of the luxuries and easier parts as you're going through the missiler career field?
I guess the easier parts is once you finally get settled and familiar with the job is the different opportunities that you can do to grow, your Air Force knowledge and stuff. So like I mentioned, you can go as an instructor and become an instructor, and that's something I really like to do. I like to sit down with some of my lieutenants and captains and say, hey, look, tell me what you want to learn, and I can, and have them tell me what's new, and just seeing the whole interaction about how they have fresh thoughts and try to tie those in. So instruction, kind of like I do with my class, right? I try to see what they're thinking, and see how we can tie in new thoughts and stuff. But also seeing them grow and get stronger and just wiser within the career field was really cool too. I guess that's probably the biggest thing. I like to see them grow within the career field.
So then, I kind of tapped on this next one a little easy. What would you say? So we talked about some of your AFSCs before, right? Outside of just being the missileer, can you describe some of the ones that you went through as well after the fact that you had done your work as a missileer?
Sure. Yeah. So as the tail end part of my time at Minot, which is my second crew tour, I had the opportunity to apply for an executive officer position for the operations group commander, and I got picked up for that. So I was a 97 Echo as an executive officer there, and I did that for a year and a half. That was a very challenging, I'll say the least, job, especially because it's something that I never thought I'd be able to do. Just because I didn't think I was that detail oriented. It forced me to be that way, but it was also very rewarding. I got a chance to learn from senior leadership at a time when most other CGOs didn't get that opportunity. So seeing that other side of the picture was really cool. Kind of opened my eyes about how the big picture worked. It's very easy to hone in and see what you know and only know what you know through your lens, but when you get up to a level like that and see how the big Air Force works, if you will, the higher up Air Force, it opens your eyes to a lot of things. So that was beneficial to me. And then after that, I was able to go to the assignment team. Like I said, I was still a 13N, but out of the assignment team, I was able to apply for OIRSD, so Officer Instructor Recruiting Special Duty.
Okay.
And that's how I got the position here. So now I am in an 81 Tango position, instead of a 13N position, which is an instructor.
Okay.
And so again, I mentioned I love instructing. I'm getting to do that now, so it's awesome. And be back at the 842 where I commission.
Kind of come full circle and take some more of that knowledge, bring it down, and apply it here. So then, kind of tapping into when you're able to be that executive officer, how would you say that perspective from being there with the top officials affected how you worked your day-to-day officer life, right? How did that perspective help you?
It definitely helped me stop focusing on such small details. It's when you get tied up in the small details, it's easier to kind of see, or if you have such a narrow focus on stuff, it's easier to kind of see the negative side of things and not the overall big picture.
Mm-hmm.
It opened my eyes to see that big picture, so I was like, hey, it isn't just about me. It isn't just about my issues. Leadership has to think about everything on a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it forced me to stop thinking about me, myself, and look at the big picture and everybody's concerns and issues. So that changed my perspective. It matured me, if you will, as an officer, just to see that, and a leader to say, hey, look, stop focusing on you, man. It's about everybody else too. So that was really cool, and I enjoy that, and I try to tie that into how I think to this day about what I learned from that.
So you kind of had that perception early on after you jumped from the military career field, right? So you could say that's still pretty early in your career.
Yeah.
What would you say that kind of did, right? If you're able to experience that from that point on early in your career, how do you think that's going to affect you as you continue? How long you plan on staying with the Air Force? Did you say that gives you an advantage, seeing that top-down perspective?
Definitely. What I try to use it as is I try to help others see that big picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I was able to bring down was I'd go back to my flights or go back to my squadron and be like, hey, here's what's really going on, and here's some of the answers to maybe some gripes and complaints they might have. Try to give them the backstory of what was going on from some of the higher up level thinking, and that kind of opened their eyes too, right? Mm-hmm. So that allowed me to kind of pass down some of that key information to some members and kind of just get them to stop really maybe thinking too much about themselves. Mm-hmm. So I've tried to tie that in also to how I do feedback. It's grown me as an officer, so I try to help other people see that. So I try to pass along what I've seen to try to help other people look big picture and not so much focus on some of the small stuff. I think it has matured me earlier than I was planning on or was probably thinking of, but it was for the better. It only bettered me as an officer, so I can take that and I try to help as many people as I can see that.
So then you're kind of looking back and you're like, it's a blessing, but also a curse of the fact that you were forced to kind of mature early on throughout your career. But I mean, from what you're saying, it seems like it's giving you a lot more of that mindset when you're going through as your officer role and kind of helping to teach others.
Yeah, definitely. It was only a benefit. It was beneficial 100% to my career, and like I said, it allows me to help others too. So that's my biggest thing is I want to help others do and see what I saw, because it's just not very many people get that opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. So if I can pass that along, that's awesome, and that's what I try to do.
So then, just yesterday we had an honor guard event where we were assisting with the promotion of a colonel to a brigadier general, and you were noting the XO that was running around, helping coordinate everything. What would you say are some of the kind of crazier things that you yourself has helped to coordinate in your time as an XO?
I would say I did a retirement for a full bird colonel, and that was something that I just didn't. You go to events, you just show up, right? A lot of times you don't put any thought into what is involved. That really opened my eyes to how many different agencies and how many different people play in part of those celebrations. So having to plan and set that up was way more intense than I thought it was and time consuming, but it was very rewarding on the back end to see it all come together. I would say setting up a lot of the group events, as far as just even a dining out or just even an award ceremony, is all the stuff you don't see behind the scenes. The proffering, setting up all the awards, printing out the papers, making sure all the stuff is ready to go. All of that when you just show up, you don't really think about. Mm-hmm. But when you're playing behind the scenes and you're actually part of creating the event, it opens your eyes about how much other people are involved. And that relationship and I guess just the commitment of how much leadership cares, because it takes a lot to put those things together. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that can be overlooked. Mm-hmm. So that I definitely grew to appreciate that.
So I guess looking back, you're like, okay, now that you're able to attend these events, you're happy you're just able to attend these events instead of.
It is nice to be on the other side of it sometimes, definitely. Yeah.
So then, kind of going off of that, what would you say are some of the challenging aspects that comes with being that XO? Beyond just the planning of events and working.
It's always having to you're shouldering the weight of making sure that your commander looks good, mm-hmm. and your immediate supervisor looks good, making sure you're taking care of everything for whatever level you're at, whether it be the group or the wing. Everything kind of funnels through you. You're kind of a gatekeeper of information. Mm-hmm. So making sure that you're staying on top of it is the biggest thing. So you're always on, the switch turns on as soon as you walk in the door, and probably are in the car right there, right? But working on knowing when to turn that switch on and off is a big deal. So being at home, turn the switch off, but when you're there, turn that switch on and just making sure you're taking care of business. It was the biggest thing for me. It's just staying on track of everything, because you can't let that, since you have that responsibility and that priority to keep your boss looking good and everyone under them looking good. It's a big deal. So it's a lot of responsibility to take on.
So would you say that having the responsibility, working with the missiles, kind of prepped you for that, even, that other responsibility of now having to keep your commander and then everyone below them just kind of on track?
Definitely, yeah, very much so. I would say that was a good segue into that, as far as like, hey, I know I can handle this. It may be difficult, maybe it be tough, and something I maybe wasn't planning on doing, but hey, look, and it definitely helped. Like you said, it kind of paved that way. That responsibility was already kind of there. And I knew that what it was kind of like, what I had to do. So it was easier to just get thrown into it, yeah, definitely.
So then, following the path of responsibility, now you find yourself in a position where you're responsible with the training of the cadets here at DET 842. How would you describe that transition now, where you're taking a very active mentorship, active teaching role with the cadets here, as compared to maybe previous positions where your responsibilities were a little bit different?
I would say it's not much. It's just adjusting to your audience. My role and responsibility of furthering their education is just as important as it was whether you're a cadet or you're an FGO, right, when you're instructing. But I do find value in getting to instruct at this level. I think that if I can hopefully help make their lives better and make the Air Force seem a better place for them and help them realize what they can do within the Air Force now, it only sets them up better when they're in the Air Force, in active duty, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it's awesome for me to be able to see it come full circle from when I was a cadet, where I got to and where I was, and then come back to do this is just awesome to me. So I hope I try to bring what I learned into that and help our cadets be as good officers as they can possibly become.
So then how did you handle that change, right? You're talking about the perspective that you're getting on. Would you say that kind of developed as you became the officer that you are today, and you brought that mindset here?
So I guess you're asking how did it, say that one more time?
Okay, so how did you get the perspective that you have, like here, where you're going to teach these cadets, and how did you handle that? We talked about the transition coming in here,
okay, yeah.
And you're talking about the perspective that you gain. How did you handle putting all that together to become the cadre member that you are here at the DET?
So, yeah, I mean, in that last job, I haven't talked that much about assignments. We had to brief generals and colonels for our career field to come in, and we briefed it. So that's something, public speaking and instruction was something that I was never really comfortable with, even as I was a CGO or a lieutenant. So as the jobs I've had has forced me to do more public speaking, has forced me to do more instruction, has really allowed this transition to be much easier. Because if you had told me as a second or first lieutenant that eventually I'd be instructing future cadets, I'd kind of laugh at you like, that's not me, but now but I'm very glad I can say that, because it means I've grown and pushed myself away from some of my comfort levels and comfort areas to do what I am, and I've only grown and been a better person for that. So that having those jobs, being a missileer, an instructor, an evaluator, an executive officer, an assignments officer, to come here has only helped me be comfortable and talking to cadets, instructing, and kind of allows me to fall back on my previous experiences to help tie all that in.
Nice. So then, is there a specific reason that you had come back to DET 842 to be a part of the detachment? Would you say, how was that application process for you when you were able to get selected to be a cadre member?
Yeah, so I was at AFPC working assignments, and they started the new initiative of that OIRSD, Officer Instructor Recruiting Special Duties, where they started using that as an avenue to hire for ROTC detachments. So I'm here in San Antonio, where I'm from, loving it, and I was like, wait, is DET 842 going to be on that list? And I saw it was, so I was like, I'm going to apply. I'd love to go back, right? For one, I get to go back to my detachment, my alma mater, and get to be a part of that, which was I never thought would be possible. And two, keeps me home longer, so I was like, yeah, this is awesome, win-win. So I put my name in the hat, and luckily got picked up, and got the chance by the cadre who hired me to come out here and work, and it's been an awesome experience. So I never ever thought it would happen. It just kind of fell in my lap, and I'm just here fortunate to be back. So
as you're kind of roaming the halls, you're like, wow, Cadet SEAL was right here going through the same thing, and then now you're back here as the mage, and you're like passing all that knowledge down to you.
It's awesome, yeah. Getting I do that constant like memory roll about what was I doing, where was I at in China, and I do try to incorporate that in my lessons. So yeah, it's very, very cool, unique opportunity for sure.
So then, was there anything specifically now that we're talking about, your career times, missile layers and exec, and now here's a detachment? Is there something that kind of pokes out from your career so far that you want to discuss, you want to bring and highlight to the cadets and other people that may be viewing?
I would just say it's easy to get sidetracked in the moment, but really sit back and try to enjoy it. Always find something that you like to do. There's a huge work-life balance you have to have. Like I mentioned that several times. Go be really good at your job. Learn your job first. Be proficient at what you do. Be an expert at that job. But then when it's time to go home, be home. Go do something you like. Find that balance. Because if you're just working, always trying to study and do stuff constantly, you're going to burn yourself out. So have that work-life balance. I didn't necessarily do that all the time. There have been times I was burnt out of my job, but then I had to take a step back and what's important. Find out what's important to you, and then value that and hone in on that. So family and my work are two important things. So I balance that family time, and I make sure I'm doing stuff I like to do and enjoy with my family. But then when it's work time, it's work. And so be that person, be that leader that knows their job, that other people want to go and know they can ask questions because you're that subject matter expert, and better them. Try to better anything you do, whatever position you do, try to be the best at it that you personally can, and help others. And then when you're at home, go do something you like, go do something you enjoy with friends, get that stress relief out of there, and then come back and hit it hard again.
So how would you say that you were able to develop that mindset as you were going through, to where you are now? What crucial events and what things happened that kind of made you think, oh, you know what, this is how I should be perceiving, how I should be working through my day-to-day?
It was by trial and error. Like I said, I've been burned out, and I had to realize I had to stop relying so much on myself. And I've got mentors, I've got friends, peers that I reach out and say, hey, if you see I had somebody that was just like the example I wanted to be like, how do you balance everything? How are you doing so well? And I just asked them, and they told me, and it kind of opened my eyes, right? So it wasn't anything in me that I did. I reached out, and I found I latched onto somebody that is to become a very good mentor of mine and friend. And they've helped me out. So I would say seek out opportunities, seek out those people that you see are doing that, and just ask them what's going on. How do you do it? And then mold and then incorporate that and carry on, and then be that person for somebody else.
So then, what are some of the key things that you've gotten from your mentors that kind of helped push you and shape you to where you are, besides just reaching out and asking for help? What are some of the physical, tangible advice that you say have been given and that maybe you'd want to pass down for cadets that would want to go and be as successful?
Yeah, I would say, like I said, I'm going to harp on this is because I truly value it. It's be the best at your job that you can be. If you can be the best at your job that you can be, then you have time to focus on other stuff and help other people out. I have found that, I guess, if I lose focus or lose track, you need somebody that will recenter you. So find someone that's your center, whether it be a spouse, a friend, a mentor, a coworker. Find someone that keeps you on track, keeps you centered, and then just doing the best you can where you're at, and everything just falls into place. I mean, life and the job and everything will take care of itself if you are doing the best and helping out and taking care of yourself. So find that mentor that balances you, find that person that balances you in your life, find that work-life balance, and everything will be good and fall into place. So don't stress the small stuff, focus on what you can, and live life as much as you can.
So then how were you able to find these mentors? I mean, we're always constantly stressed as cadets, like, hey, when you become the LT, go talk to the chief, go talk to the SNCOs. And, when you kind of jumped into the force, how were you able to find those mentors? Did you rely heavily on your SNCOs and then eventually talk to your officers, or were you approached yourself?
It's a combination of all of that, actually. So those NCOs are the first people you're going to see when you go report in, and they're the ones that you can rely on because they are those subject matter experts, and they're the ones that have been through it and know it, and they'll help you out. But be humble and be appreciative of those people too, of anybody that you come across. But I guess as far as those mentors go, whether it be civilian, active duty, just anybody, they just kind of exude something that that draws you to them. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's leadership, whatever you want to call it. You'll just kind of drift towards them because you'll see that, this person has it all together. What are they doing? Or I really like what you said today. Tell me more about that. So you just, I don't know really how to explain it other than you just kind of drift towards them. Maybe they exude something that we all hone into, but it was something that as soon as you see that, as soon as you find what's missing, or you see somebody that exudes those qualities, go seek them out, and then just keep doing it. They become your mentors. They become your friends. So, and then eventually, hopefully, if you're carrying those and taking those on, maybe you will eventually be that person for somebody, right? So,
kind of taking all that and building it up to, you know, form your own version of what you could be as well, you know.
Exactly.
And then passing that information down to, you know, those that remember asking, and then you start kind of creating that cycle. You know?
Exactly. Yep.
So I guess, would you say that most people in the Air Force and active duty are pretty receptive to that, wanting to ask help and then working with you and then just willing to give that as well?
Yes and no. There's some people that are just like, hey, let me do my job, and you know, and that's good, and I'm gonna go home and do what I need to do and take care of me, and that's fine if that's the case, as long as they're healthy and they're doing okay about it, right? So, and that's part of, as you grow and you see things and you experience stuff as active duty life, you'll see those that are like that, and you'll see those that are struggling, and you see those that are just doing awesome, right? So no, I think you have to look at each person and look at the situation, and not everybody's going to pick up on it. Not everybody's going to have that. Not everybody's going to find a mentor at that place, right? So no, it's case by case, really. Is how it is. You just got to seek out those individuals.
So then, have you had those like moments where you've just been like rejected and was like, you know, you just I can't do this right now. It's like, maybe talk to someone else.
Definitely, yeah, and you got to respect that, right? Because you have no idea what they're going through. But yeah, definitely, I've had someone that I thought was going to be that person for me, and it wasn't. And you're like, okay, you know, slough it off and go find somebody else, right? It's just part of going through and kind of honing your own skills. And yeah, you're gonna have those pitfalls. You're gonna have people who kind of put up those walls, but just move on. Don't let it weigh you down, I guess is what I'm saying.
So then, when your transition to be a cadre member here, would you say you found good mentorship in the rest of the cadres that are trying to get you prepped to take on that role in the position here?
Definitely, yeah. You know, I was in the program with Major Farrell and Captain Guajardo while he had just left recently, but I was fortunate to come back to Friendly Faces and Mr. Yano, like you said. So it was awesome. It was almost like coming home, right? So it was like a time where we all kind of got older, but we're still here together, right? So it was really cool to see those familiar faces, and they definitely helped and embrace me and get me going and get me on the right path.
So then, kind of talking about the DET, when you had first joined, what would you say your why was, and how would you say that it has changed from when you initially came as a cadet, working with your peers, to where you are now, where you're Major SEAL and you're helping teach?
What my why is, you asked? Is that what you asked?
Yes.
It's just, I guess from going back to where we were, I wasn't the same individual. I've grown a lot in the past, and I've grown a lot up to this point, right? So now my why is I noticed where I was and what I've gone through, and I want to help everybody else that maybe was in that same position, or just make and try to instill and train them the best that I possibly can. I want to better them. So I don't look at it as I was a kind of introspective, more of a kind of more not introverted, but I kind of kept to myself in the detachment. I'm not that kind of person anymore. I want to help others and seek others. So I've grown that way, and I want to instill that in everybody else. So that's my why. Is I want to make them better. I want to make the DET better. I want to make every cadet better that I get to teach and be a part of. So trying to help them find that is the why.
It's kind of what pushes you to keep, honing your skills and sharpening your tools as you're going and working with these people.
Exactly.
So, what advice would you give to the skills that are still kind of trying to find, their why they're here? I know we have some people that are like, well, I'm kind of drifting along right now and trying to figure out where my place is. How would you suggest people kind of hone in on that or move at their pace?
Just be patient with it. Don't get if you're struggling with trying to figure out what's going on, where you need to be, what's going to be in the future for you. Just take it day by day, and when you do seek it, or when you do see those like opportunities where someone might be a mentor or someone that you can learn from, reach out to those. And if you get shut down, don't give up. You have to keep going. It might take a while, but you'll eventually get there, right? So it's a long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So you hear some people. So don't get caught up in the moment, but then just try to always continue to better yourself. Never give up, and reach out to people. You got to reach out and communicate. Let somebody know what issues you have, and maybe they can help point you in the right way. Maybe you're just not seeing it. Maybe if you reach out to somebody, they can help you out. So don't get caught up in the present. Keep your eyes focused on the goal, the end goal, and seek out help.
All right, just kind of pushing that through, chugging along, and then doing what you can to make sure that you're able to make those ends meet, but still, as you mentioned earlier, taking care of yourself as you're going through it.
Exactly, yeah, you have to.
So then, now that you're here as a cadre, what would you say your goals are? As you're coming in to take in the place of Major Farrell, who's going to be skedaddling out here. And you're actually going to be the OFC next semester as well. What would you say your goals are as a cadre member, stepping into the positions that you will be in for the detachment?
Yeah, continue to keep the DET best in blue, right? Try to continue to keep us on the track for betterment. I want to make everybody. I want to help everybody achieve their goals. Help everybody do what they need to do to learn to be a better person, better leader, and just keep us as a kind of the shining light in this region. I want to keep that 842 being the best in blue, and whatever that means that I need to do, I'm here to do it, and I want to help out. So I guess just continuing to make sure that everyone feels that same way when they leave, to have that sense of pride and that focus and drive to go be better.
So how do you feel that we as a detachment can be able to accomplish that? What have you seen from the cadet leadership and from your time as a cadre here that are like tangible things that we can do as a detachment to reach that vision?
Through the whole COVID stuff, I've seen people and cadets come together and embrace these challenges that no one knew we were going to face, right? So we're resilient, and I see that just the fact that we're able to continue to be one of the only DETs that is doing both this hybrid in-person and online stuff and do it successfully means that we can take on anything, right? So we're better and stronger together, and I see that as a DET here specifically, we're really strong like that. We work with each other, we rely on each other, and we're going to continue to jump those hurdles and keep going because we're resilient. And then just the COVID environment just shows that. So I think we have a very special environment here that we have as a detachment that will continue. That just the fact that I've seen that and what we've accomplished through there makes me comfortable that we can take on whatever's in the future. So
nice. I like to see that confidence from y'all because it kind of trickles down to us too. So then when we see our leadership, we're like, ready, let's go do this. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. We can do this. We can move forward.
It builds our confidence seeing y'all take over that stuff and really be successful at it. So it's awesome to see it from our perspective too.
So then, do you have any words out there for the cadets that are kind of watching right now and listening to everything that we're talking about?
I would just say, like, it's when it's your time, you gotta take advantage of those. Like when, I guess I don't look so introspectively. Look big picture. Help each other out. We're all in the same team, same fight, right? So if you see somebody struggling, be that light to them, be that mentor to them, help them, pick them up. I tell my cadets during midterm feedbacks, and I say this during class, so if they're watching, you get a double dose of it. But be the person that everybody wants to go to that knows the answers. Be the person that everybody wants to go to because they know they can help them and pick them up. So it's all one big team. Don't let anybody struggle. If you see somebody struggling, do something about it. I just be that person that everybody wants to go to, be that subject matter expert, and help each other out. And then we'll all become better for it. And we'll all boost each other up and be that resilient, awesome detachment that I know we are.
Form that team and just rise together, right? This is essentially the bottom line.
Help each other out.
So then, kind of taking it back towards your career field as Mr. Lear, as a 13N, we know there is that whole kind of cheating scandal happening on the exams. And how exactly did that affect you, and how were you able to go through that environment when that whole thing was going down?
Yeah, that was a big deal. It kind of forced a break in our AFSC, and it reshaped everything really. So it was a stressful time. We didn't really know what was going on. There was we saw our whole culture break down, and how things we did in the past kind of went away, and we had new stuff come up, and that was both refreshing and scary at the same time. But what we did is we all huddled together. We made it work. We were able to get in some new fresh ideas and stuff that was better for the career field, and ultimately it caused what we call the Force Improvement Program, or FIP. And FIP really revamped our career field to the betterment, and it's in a much better place than it was. We're much healthier, morale's higher, people are wanting to stay in longer and do that. So I think it was a hard thing to go through, but it only made us better, and we're in a much better place as a career field for it.
So then, you talk about that, and then I can't help but think of how COVID happened. We had the whole snowstorm happen as well, and all these kind of hurdles that everyone goes through. Would you say that all those challenges are necessary for the change that requires us to become better as we're moving forward in our careers?
Necessary, maybe not the word, but I think it's something that you're going to overcome them, or you're going to face challenges at any point. No matter what you do, right? I think they do allow opportunities to make things better. I do think they allow us opportunities to grow and get out of our comfort zone, maybe sometimes, whether it be a natural event or whether it be something that happens within a career field. But just use them as a way to grow, and at the end, we're always going to overcome it, and hopefully we'll do that as a team. And then we're going to hopefully always strive to take what you can and grow and benefit from that.
Okay, just getting those problems, not letting them really get the best of you, but taking out what you can, right? I know we've talked about how one of the big things about leadership is talking about, not exactly what the problem does to you, but how you react to it, right? How you respond to this and how you move forward from it. Would you say that really rings true?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's everybody's gonna get knocked down. I've been knocked down plenty of times. The thing is how you recover, how you get back up. Do you let it defeat you, or do you let it keep going and learn from it? So hopefully we're all gonna learn from these things, and make them and help them make us stronger, and we're gonna bounce back. And you have to bounce back. You have to be resilient, right? And if someone's not, then find that person or be that person to help somebody else out, because we're all getting through this together.
Go out there and just kind of kick booty, right?
Hey, we try.
So we're wrapping around a little less than 10 minutes left, and let's kind of start going into some of these bigger picture things. What would you say that you're looking forward to in the future of the Air and Space Forces as it compares to both ROTC and active duty?
I'm just looking forward to using this as another stepping stone to help me become a better person, right? So I want to learn more from y'all than hopefully you learn from me, and I want to continue that on so I can continue to help other people, and hopefully maybe I can pass along a couple of good nuggets that the cadets can use to better themselves and then eventually better the Air Force, right? So I just want to get as much as I can out of this, and enjoy it, because this is, like I said, it's a really cool opportunity. It's something unique that a lot of us don't get to do. So I'm just trying to live it every day I can and soak it up. So I can't really say what it's going to be like in the future, but I'm just trying to enjoy what I can. So
kind of prep and see what happens. Would you ever consider transferring to Space Force as that happens?
I thought about it, but I'm in a good place at 13N. I like where I'm at. I like the career field as much as people don't have that big of understanding for it. I'm good where I'm at, and I want to keep going. So I will be a 13N for as long as I'm in the Air Force. So
you're like, I consider it, but no thank you. I'm pretty good.
I like where I'm at, though. I have a lot of respect for the people who did take that leap of faith and go do that. That's awesome.
So then, going into the future talk and how we're going to go, what would you say that your vision is for your legacy, right? What is it that you're trying to leave behind? You've talked about you're wanting to help better people, and then what would be that end goal of this is what Major SEAL is trying to do. This is his vision. This is his accomplishment.
I don't know if I have one. I don't think I'm at that point yet. I just try to help out people when I can. I try to be that leader that other people go to. That my mentors have asked me and taught me to be. But I don't think I've got that yet. I'm still learning. So, as a legacy, not sure. I'll get back to you on that one. We'll have an exit interview, and you can ask me. But I'm not sure at this point.
All right. Well, we'll give you some time to kind of simmer through that and work forward. So then, going over all we talked about today. Let's kind of delve into how all this your experience has affected your leadership style, right? For the AS300s right now, we're especially going through a lot of that. We're talking about the leadership styles, philosophies. And what would you say that your leadership philosophy is? And then what would you say your kind of cheat sheet for leadership would be, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's just like I said, find those that seem to have it together. Find those that seem to be where you want to be, and hone in on that, and then become that. If you're struggling with something, you don't put it away. Don't hide it. Overcome it. Do what you need to do. Get out of your comfort zone, and push forward constantly. I know there's a lot of different things that keep popping up as far as whether it be field training or COVID and that kind of stuff. You just got to find a way to prepare yourself the best you can for it and move on and help others out. We're all a big team. We got to rely on each other. It can't be a single person's game. We're a team.
So then, what would you? So like talking about like character traits and maybe certain messages you want to say. If you could tie it down to 3 important ones when it comes to leadership, what would you say it would be?
Be humble. You gotta be somebody that people can feel comfortable coming to, and never think that you're on too high of a pedestal for somebody else, right? Never get that chip on your shoulder. Be positive. So I guess number 2, don't be a drain. Don't be that black hole that's in your squadron or in your group. Be the light. Be that somebody feels comfortable going to, and that kind of ties back into humility. And the third one, I guess, be proficient. Be knowledgeable. be that person that when the time comes, you can handle it yourself because you know it, and then you can help other people, and other people come to you. So be proficient at what you do.
So that kind of harps back on what you were saying about being that subject matter expert in your field, so that you're able to be that kind of textbook for folks. And that kind of brings a question that I want to talk about. When we're going through our careers, right? They talk about there's a lot of breadth, right, that you can have as an opportunity. What would you say? Do we talk about depths versus breadth? What would you say is the most important thing? Being that subject matter expert, or having an overall experience and idea of what your things are?
There's a fine line of both. You need to have both of them to be that subject matter expert, honestly. Go out and seek those opportunities that get you that breadth. Go out and leave your comfort zone and try out for something like an executive officer kind of deal. That will only help you become, maybe you hear somebody say, another tool in your tool belt, or another, so do whatever it takes to hone those skills, get out of your comfort zone, have that depth, but say, I've done this and this and this, I've been through this and this, I've done these jobs, tie it all in, and be that total character, that total leader that we need you to be.
Okay. So you're kind
of a fine line of both.
Kind of finding like a relationship between where you're taking that deep dive, is what you would say, right? And tying them all together. So if you find a way to, put a pretty bow on it and say that I was able to go this deep into these things, but it still relates to this general picture, that kind of gives a better representation of you.
Yeah, I don't think you can have both. I'm sorry, I don't think you can have anything individually. I think they're both going to tie into each other eventually at some point. Yeah, so that's what you really got to hone in.
All right. So you had mentioned field training a little bit earlier. You're going to be an FTO, is that correct?
Yes.
Are you excited to jump back into there now? You're going to be evaluating and working with these cadets now from this spectrum.
Definitely. And then being this new environment at Camp Shelby is going to be even crazier. So I don't really have anybody to fall back on to say, hey, what was it like? So it's going to be, I'll be learning with the cadets too. But no, definitely it's going to be really cool to be on this side of it and see it from this point of view. I didn't really ever pay much attention, I'll be honest with them. It was more about getting through field training. But yeah, I'm excited to go back and see and watch some of our cadets go through and see them grow. But yeah, it'll definitely be a really good experience. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. I mean, for sure, me and the other 300 are going to make sure to keep your name, as we're going through if we see you. Because, we imagine that. We heard the stories about Captain Medina calling out some of our own detachment cadets for not saluting her and doing all that stuff. So
I'll be looking.
We feel the pressure
I'll
already.
be looking.
So we got about a minute left just here wrapping it up. Is there any final words, any comments you want to reiterate, to our cadets and anyone else that would be viewing about what we've discussed today?
No, I would say, I guess, if you have any questions about what does that mean to be a good leader, a mentor, or wingman, come see me. I'd love to talk. I'd love to chat. If you have questions about the 13 career field or just Air Force in general, come on into my office. Anytime I'm here, I'm willing to talk one-on-one. You can hit me up on Slack. I'd love to just meet y'all and help you out as much as I can. I'm here for you, so let me know whatever I can do. I'd love to talk and chat and push forward anything I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, sir, for going up and talking with us. Very much enjoyed hearing your different perspectives and your career field going up to this point. So for sure, we're all going to be talking and asking about that to kind of pull that vision in as you are taking that step with us in the cadre and teaching us for the next couple of years. So
awesome.
Very happy and glad that you're able to come and talk a little bit more about that, sir.
No, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. This is awesome.
Awesome. So again, Kademe here with Major SEAL. That's going to wrap it up for our episode here on the podcast of Crucial Conversations. Be sure to tune in next Friday as we continue to have these interviews with the rest of the PR team. And if you have any questions, any things that you didn't want answered, feel free to shoot them up. And then, as always, we'll get back to you once we get these answers from the different cadre members. So thanks again for tuning in and join us